the time that school gets out. Probably is going to be about the time that we're ready. We are getting a lot of calls already to open the study rooms. So if we're able to, I might try to open those earlier, even if we just open the ones on the west side. But that's kind of where I'm at. I found that we've had much better, I feel like the patrons have had a much better experience with the fact that when we reopened, we didn't have a lot open and then had to take it away again. So I would hate to prematurely open things back up only to have something go wrong and have to take it away. So that's kind of where I'm at. Thinking wise, again, we're planning for summer. We're basically planning summer to have to be mainly virtual. So if we can start opening up so that people can come and use the space in the summer, I think that that's the right call.
Okay, anybody, any questions, comments?
No, I agree with that. I mean, I think that's fine.
Yes, I do too. Okay,
reasonable.
Jill? Oh, yep, you're on.
All right. So the budget and revenue updates. So the only thing that I wanted to point out for, actually, this is for 2020, is that if my math is right, and it never's quite perfect, we're going to add probably at least $50,000 to our fund balance from 2020, only because I went back and looked, and just because we were closed and or we had reduced services, there was no way to spend our whole budget. So, we only spent 80% of the part-time wages. We didn't spend barely anything on travel because there was nowhere to go. We didn't run out of office supplies, so we spent almost nothing on office supplies. So there should be quite a bit that's going into that accumulated surplus account, which is going to be part of the next item. The other thing that I wanted to just ask, if you noticed in the board packet after with the budget and revenue updates, I did these two graphs just to kind of give you an idea of where we were. And I wondered if that was something that you liked and would like me to continue doing.
Oh, I think so. It's informative.
Yeah.
Obviously, right now it looks a little wonky because it's only the second month,
Right.
month. So we're not even close to hitting our, but as the year progresses, I think it'll be nice to be able to see where we are in relation to the year.
Mhm. Yeah, I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, I did.
Liked it.
Good.
Keep up the good work.
Thanks. All right, anything else about budget and revenue? Otherwise, I'm going to go on to the foundation.
Okay.
Go for it.
So since we last met, I had I'm going to call it an epiphany, that I am only disappointed that I had not thought of this earlier. For those of you who were on the board back when the foundation started, the foundation had originally talked with the Greater Milwaukee Foundation about setting up an endowment. And at the time, the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, we all agreed that that was not the right course of action because the agency and the endowments are meant to be long-term investment strategies, whereas the foundation was going to be a pass-through account to pay for the building. So since we last met, I remembered the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. I've talked to several libraries. So the foundation is scheduled to meet on April 6th. And what I am planning to recommend to them is that they still give the money to the library board and they still dissolve. But instead of that money going into a city account, the library board would then turn around and invest it in an agency endowment at the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, which would allow that money to continue to earn interest. It would allow us to set up some clear parameters of how the money is spent, but it would let the money work for us a little bit more. So what I am looking for, I just wanted to kind of lay that out for you. And what I'm looking for is if there's one or two people who would be willing to help me, I think it would be really helpful when we go to the foundation on the 6th to not take the whole board with me, but to take some representatives from the board. Obviously Pam will already be there, but to take another representative or two to kind of say, hey, this is kind of where we're at. I'd like to work with those individuals to come up with, again, before April 6th, so in the next 2 or 3 weeks, to come up with a plan and some draft policies of how we would allocate that money and what we would earmark that money for. So that's kind of where I'm at. If the board agrees with that, I think that is a happy medium. It doesn't. I believe that some of the foundation's reservations may be turning the money over to the city. So this solves that reservation while still allowing the foundation to meet its goals. But the library board would be in control of how the money is spent after it goes to the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. So
Okay.
that's kind of where I am there.
One of the original issues with the foundation going through the Greater Milwaukee Foundation was they told us it was a sunk cost. Like you basically have to sign up for $25,000 and you can kiss that goodbye. You'll never see it. Whereas the agency account and actually the 25,000 account, that money is all accessible. It's not they are just writing. It's kind of like we wish our foundation would have worked, whereas it's just kind of a pass through. This way the city wouldn't be keeping track of our books. The Greater Milwaukee Foundation handles all the accounting. They handle pretty much everything. So there's no sunk costs. There's fees for them to manage the account, but it would be earning interest and invested. And so we wouldn't be pressured to spend all of the money at once. Like the Library Foundation is kind of pushing for right now.
I also think, and thank you, Pam. Pam actually met with me. Pam joined me last Friday when we met with a representative from the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. And I included the information they sent us about those 2 endowment accounts. And yes, it does say that you can't access the principal, but for libraries, that is not true. For other nonprofits, it is, but for libraries, it is not. We would just set up a agreement or a policy that would say, for example, with a vote of 50% of the board, you could access the principal. But right now we're earning the money is sitting in a checking account, whereas it would be invested at the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. So they average about 4.5% interest, and then every year, and then they charge you 1% of the total as their fees. So you're looking at in $100,000 making $3,000 a year, which isn't a lot or it doesn't seem like a lot, except that if you don't access that money for a couple years, now it's $6,000. And, it's enough that my recommendation to the foundation board is what I'd like to do is take that money and hold on to it for a while, or as long as we can, and then be able to use that money to pay for things such as the chairs that are starting to wear out in the building. Some of those capital costs that we knew were going to come, and 6 years in, they're here. Because that way we don't have to keep going back to the city for a capital improvement budget. And also it allows us to make sure that the library still, this library doesn't happen what happened to the old library where we built a building and then it just stayed the way it was. We want it to continue to evolve, and we want it to stay nice, and this gives us, I think it gives us more longevity to make sure that can happen.
Does the city have any responsibility as far as furnishings, replacing, I should say, furnishings for the library?
I mean, we can definitely go to them and ask them for a capital improvement. Absolutely. And for some bigger ticket items, we're going to have to do that down the road. You know,
Right,
we're not going to have enough money. We're not going to earn enough interest off the money to say recarpet the building. But you know, for smaller things, like if you can
Yes.
picture in the kids department, there are those booths when you first walk in past the train. I mean,
Right.
those booths have needed to be replaced for 2 years already,
wow.
just because they're so well
Yes.
used.
Yeah,
The seats
yeah.
are worn out.
sure, sure.
So, you know, little things like that, I think this would be the right place to go for that. It would also be the right place to go if we, you know, as we decide what we want that digital media lab to look like in the future. I don't think we can even decide what that looks like until we find out what the new normal is.
Right.
So,
So the only money that you can use is the money that you're earning?
no.
No,
So you can set it up that you can have them do disbursements of the money that you earn. You can decide that you want them to hold that money so it can continue to grow. Or if you want to access the principal, there would have to be a vote by the library board. The board would set up how many people have to approve it. So it might be 50% of the board has to agree. It might be 60%. The board can decide that. It would go into the agreement that is written with the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. And then once we can show that the board passed that motion, we would access the principal.
okay, and should there be a person that wanted to donate to the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, to the library, I should say, as part of Greater Milwaukee? That's an option as well, right?
So under this agency endowment, which is the one that,
It's agency.
so under the
Got
agency
it.
endowment, they would have to donate the money to the library, and then the library would put it into the Greater Milwaukee Foundation. They can't donate that money directly,
Directly.
but we're a tax exempt any organization anyhow. So any donation to us is still tax exempt. So
Right.
it would basically be using the library. The library would be a pass through, and that individual would say, I'm donating this money. I want you to put it into this account. Or it could go into our traditional donations account if the person doesn't put any stipulations on it.
And
So-
then,
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So when someone would say they wanted to donate, then would you explain those things to them, you know, about where the donation would go, whether it would be going to that foundation or through the library or through into the city account?
Right.
Okay.
You know, I attended that meeting with them, with you, Jill, but so long ago, I don't remember. And I don't remember this agency part.
No, I don't remember that either. And I also
Okay.
don't, I mean, I think one of the reasons that I didn't think about it at 6 months ago when I wish I had is because I remember not thinking that was the right path at the time. But I talked to some of the other libraries in Mixless, mainly the Shorewood Library, who have set up accounts with the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, and they're doing a similar thing to what we want to do, as opposed to, you know, again, when we set up the foundation, the idea was the money that was going to come in was going to go out right away.
Right.
So then it didn't make any sense. But now, because I think that money is better used to to not get spent right now, I think that this is a good option.
If someone would make a donation to the library through their estate and not, you know, and say they passed on and there was that money coming to the library, then can you choose which place that it would go?
Yes,
Okay.
so that's actually what happened with the Shorewood Library, is that they received a bequest of $20+ million. Yeah.
Just remember, this is Oak Creek.
Yeah, no kidding.
But it was completely unexpected. And so they created policies of how the money was going to be spent. And it's actually sitting in various funds at the Greater Milwaukee Foundation for different purposes.
Okay.
Now, again, because Shorewood has such a large amount, they have multiple funds. We wouldn't need to have multiple funds. We could just write into our agreement with the Greater Milwaukee Foundation, these are the different ways that we want to use it. And we can have multiple options.
Right. This meeting with the foundation board, is it a Zoom meeting or
It's a Zoom meeting.
a Zoom meeting?
Yeah.
And what time is it?
I think it's at
Um,
5,
I think it's at 6, actually.
6.
Let me bring up my calendar just to double check.
Is anyone interested in being a part of this discussion? And
Yeah,
don't
it's at
think
6 o'clock.
I don't think I will be in town that week.
I'd be interested in helping with it.
Jill? Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else?
I think I already have to be there.
Since you scheduled it, yeah, Pam, you're stuck.
Oh, yeah, that too. I don't know what time it's for. Yeah, it is at 6.
If you still need another person, I could do it as well.
Yeah, I think that would be really good. And I think 3 is, I think that Pam is the board representative and 2 more board members. I think that's perfect. I think more than that, and they might make it might seem like they're being steamrolled.
Pressured.
Yeah.
Ganged
So,
up
yeah,
on?
I think that would be great if Jill and Pam and Greg are willing to help.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that week I have, it's dog pound week at the house. We have multiple dogs staying with us. And that's probably not a good idea because if they see a bird or a squirrel, everybody's barking. And that wouldn't be too cool.
Okay.
All
That,
right, well, I will be in touch with the 3 of you so that again, I'm going to work with writing up some draft policies and then kind of having you guys look at it if that's okay, and we'll go from there.
Sounds good.
Thank
sounds
you.
good.
Then Jill, will you send us kind of we'll be meeting shortly thereafter, so you can kind of clue us in on what's
Right.
going on.
Yeah,
The following week, right?
Yeah, how they-
Yeah.
Okay.
sounds good.
thank you.
Monthly staff report, Jill?
So there's 2 things that I really wanted to point out. The first one is that we launched our hotspots. It took a little longer than expected, but we've launched them and they've been incredibly popular. They're never on the shelf. As soon as they come back, they're gone within a couple hours. So that's good news. And then the other thing that I wanted to point out, Sarah and I actually have been talking with Dr. Dhaliwal from the Sikh Temple. And they are interested. We've been talking about building. We talked about this again several years ago, and then life happened. And but now they're interested again in partnering with us to create a Sikh collection. So that's what we're working on right now. They're going to donate some money to the collection, and then we're looking at purchasing books that right now are books about Sikhism for the English. That's how Dr. Dhaliwal referred to it. So non-Sikhs, information about Sikhism for non-Sikhs. But eventually the idea is that we would like to be able to build it so that we would have books for Sikhs. So, children's books about the different holidays, maybe fiction that takes place in India, maybe even books that are in Punjabi. So we're going to start there and we're going to slowly build. And Sarah and I are looking forward to it. We're learning a whole bunch. And we're having fun looking at all of the different, most of the books are only available through Indian publishers. So we're having a lot of fun looking at the different books that you can buy from these publishers in India.
I think that's great.
Yeah,
do
that
too.
outreach is so important, and I think that is a wonderful idea.
Yeah, so we're excited.
And I think we could always add to that with all the other faiths that we have.
Well, and that's kind of what
In the
Sarah and I were
city.
thinking of, is that eventually, so one of the things that we had talked about, originally, we had hoped to do this last summer. And then, COVID. In fact, our first meeting with Dr. Dollywall was March 12th.
Oh.
And then everything shut down on March 13th. But when we had originally talked, one of the things, their big holiday is in November. And so one of the things that we had talked about is that we could do this, and then we could do a program in celebration of their holiday. And so we're still talking about that. We'd like to, again, we're not thinking we can have a big in-person program in November, but we would like to have some of the collection ready to go by then. And then use that as a jumping off point. So we already have a Spanish language collection, and then we'll have this collection. And so we thought that would be a good jumping off point to reach out to some of the other faiths and other traditions in our community and make sure that we have those books available for those patrons.
Good. That's super. Anything else?
That's all I have for the staff report. The next one is the statistics. So Rachel made this amazing, I think it's amazing, annual report infographics.
Oh, yes, it
what we
is.
did in
Yes.
2020.
I was very impressed.
Yeah, so I really, I asked her, could we make some sort of visuals of what our statistics were? And this is what she came up with. So I was really impressed with what she did with, can we make some visuals?
Yes.
Yes.
So back in the summer of 2019, Andrew and I had decided that for National Library Week each year, we would do, around that time, I would go and do a presentation to the council, just giving them an update of what the library is doing. Once again, 2020, that didn't happen. So National Library Week is April 4th through the 10th. There just happens to be a common council meeting on the 5th. So on the 5th, I'm going to submit a proclamation celebrating National Library Week in Oak Creek. And then I'm going to share this with the council and probably do a little presentation, a PowerPoint or something to show some of the other things that we've done over the last 12 months.
And that's on April 5th?
April 5th. And then after I presented to the council, the plan is that we would put this on our website and on Facebook to share with the community.
As you should. I think there's a lot of good information on it. I love the presentation and the way in which she did it. As I looked at it, I'm going, holy cow, this is so cool.
Yes. Yeah, it really is.
And I think you should be sure to pass that on.
I will definitely tell her.
Yes, yes.
Please.
Yes, your staff really needs to know how much we appreciate everything they've done, whether it's some presentation like this or their extra efforts with other people or the manner in which they present things to the community. They're just doing an amazing job. You all are.
I will definitely, I try to share that with them regularly, but after the library board meeting, I always try to let them all know. So, and then for National Library Week in years past, we've always done something. I think this year my plan is to, we did this a couple of months ago, actually right when we reopened as a thank you to everyone. We did box lunches from a place.
Nice.
And so I think we'll do the same thing where everybody can place their order and then we have it so that it comes the day that they're working.
That's one.
Nice.
Super. along those lines, I've been meaning to say this at other board meetings and I forget, but anytime that the library puts on anything on Facebook, I always share it. I have received so many comments from parents, from grandparents, from friends. One of my friends that I graduated from high school with in Oak Creek is now been living in Florida for years. And she texted me and said, I wish the hell I was in Oak Creek.
Yeah.
And I just, every time I put something on, somebody makes a comment. And I think, when I think about how it was 10 years ago and 20 years ago and 30 years ago, this is incredible. And all the staff that does all of that, they deserve a girl or boy or
Yeah,
whatever.
they do a
but
good job.
Yeah, the
they
staff is really
really
doing a good job. Just as an aside, I don't know if you guys have watched the Owl and Fox videos
I didn't.
the children's department created. One of the children's librarians created a video starring two puppets, Owl and Fox. And it's for how to request a book bundle, where you can put in a request of these are the types of books I want, and then you can pick them up by a curbside. It might be the cutest video I've ever seen. She has the puppets answering the phone and typing. She built them a little car out of a cardboard box and has them drive up to the pickup with the pickup. It's really cute. So go down it's on both our Facebook page and our YouTube page. It's a Owl and Fox.
You have quite a creative group of people working with you.
Yeah, and they're working on creating a video because we can't go do school visits this year. So the kids department is working on figuring out how to create a video that we can share with the school to show. And then we'll send it to the schools and ask them to show it. And then we'll also offer, if they want to do a Zoom visit with the library staff. So
Nice.
they're really excited about that one too. I can't wait to see what they come up with. They have a whole storyline made written up.
That's great.
Yep, the technology is
Oh,
mind-boggling.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
And opportunities are endless.
Okay. Anything else? If not, anybody want to adjourn?
No, I like sitting here talking.
Okay.
I move we adjourn. This thumbs.
Second, second.
All in favor, aye.
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 Opposed? We all get to leave. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So,
Nice seeing you.
Thanks.
have a nice evening.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Good night.